guys. Wait, let me say this right. Let me do this right.
Leave these old ladies alone, you fucking asshole. Suck it, Andrew Hiller, you piece of shit. Well, Andrew Hiller, that screaming piece of shit. The Hiller thing is in a competition setting. Augustus, shut the fuck up. It's a 65-year-old woman. You're a fucking prick, dude. And I mean every single word that I just said.
The other day on Instagram, you may have seen Hunter McIntyre throwing some crap at me.
Andrew Hiller is the biggest heckler on the planet.
Calling me one of the biggest hecklers on the internet and saying, what value do I bring sitting in my garage? And the value that I would say that I bring from my garage is clarity. And for anybody curious about that, he himself asked me to make that video.
You can scream grab that and post it on your channel. You're a prick.
Or at least that's how I took it. Now, I do love my dear friend Hunter McIntyre, but there are a handful of things that he said in his live stream the other day that need to have the record set straight on. I can imagine Hunter watching this, and I can also understand that everything that I say is not going to be heard. He's not going to get it. I am just wrong. At the tail end of this video, you're going to see exactly why that is, and why it's ironic that this is happening in the first place. And while we're talking about things that are ironic, if you follow me on Twitter, you may have seen this tweet the other day that says, when comparing a CrossFitter to other training methods, what is the main thing that you can do to determine who is more fit? It's something that I briefly covered on that live stream I did the other day with my buddy Ali and Alexis. My belief is that if you have people in different training modalities, you can take them and you can put them into someone else's training modality, and who does better in the opposite training modality respectively is the more fit individual. Extremes would be like a deadlifter versus a marathon runner. Compared to a wide array of competition, if a deadlifter has a more respectable or a better comparative marathon time than the marathon timer does in a weighted deadlift, then the deadlifter would be more fit. If you take the best CrossFitter and you take the best Hyroxer, and let's just say it's Jeff Adler versus the very own Hunter McIntyre that we're talking about right here, and you have them flip-flop, and let's just say Jeff finishes top 50 in some elite race and Hunter can't even finish the CrossFit Games because he can't do a snatch at 225, then it's going to be very hard to argue with me that Hunter is a fitter or that the Hyroxer is a more capable person than the CrossFitter is. I'd like to now get into the video where Hunter says a handful of stuff, and who would have thunk that I would have had to have come to the defense of Tia Claire Toomey? Let's do it.
I guess we could do that right now. Let's go to hyrox.com and go look, because a lot of people have been pumping up this story about what Tia Claire Toomey did mixed doubles. Where the f is that?
It's been 20 years since the world watched two icons take on all the complexities of a
First thing that you're going to pick up on there is that Hunter has no freaking idea how to navigate Hyrox's own database. Keep that lodged into the back of your brain.
So a lot of people have been saying, wow, like a CrossFitter can go do Hyrox, but a Hyroxer can't go do CrossFit.
That's what I just said. That was my tweet from the 13th. This was something that Hunter was recording on the 16th. Either he saw my tweet or people were talking about that live stream that I did with Alexis and Allie the other day. But with pure logic, you cannot argue the fact that CrossFitters are fitter people, more capable individuals than Hyrox athletes. That doesn't mean that I'm throwing crap at Hyrox athletes. This is not meant to be a Hyrox throwing poop contest. This is me trying to set the record straight with Hunter over here.
Yeah, we could all get away with doing, some stuff. We could switch it around. Yes, CrossFit is so unique that a lot of people can't switch over into it. That's why it's somewhat alienating to the majority of the population.
Now this is where it gets a little bit crazy. Hunter trips on his own dick a lot here. Perhaps it's easy for Hunter to trip on his own dick because it's so long. It's surprising that he sets all those records with that thing that he's got. But you're about to start throwing mud at the most inclusive fitness program in the history of mankind.
And why Hyrox popped up out of nowhere and is devastating the athlete engagement that CrossFit's ever created.
Number one, the only reason that Hyrox can potentially even throw a stone into anything with his argument there is because CrossFit was there in the first place. I don't mean that as a gatekeeping thing. It's like, oh, you owe us all of this stuff, but it is just a fact. Hyrox started up in 2017 and it's doing incredibly well in 2024, and that is a great thing for Hyrox. But in that 7-year span, if CrossFit hadn't popped up in 2000 and done everything that it had done for 20 plus years, Hyrox cannot be doing what it is doing in the year 2017. And then he starts talking about this athlete engagement thing, and then he starts to get really into the weeds, really tripping over that thing.
It's at such a magnitude that CrossFit will now be considered basically like a dead bug on the bottom of the magnitude that CrossFit will now be considered basically like a dead bug on the bottom of the shoe of what Hyrox will create in the period of time.
Where I'm trying to make it as evident as possible that I'm not trying to poo-poo Hyrox, Hunter is doing everything that he can to poo-poo CrossFit, which is why we are here.
There will be more data points with Hyrox than 10 years. 1 year of Hyrox at its peak will be more than 10 years of data points that CrossFit's ever created.
Hunter is sitting on this website, this page with his data that he could barely find. And Hunter jumps off of a cliff here with this statement. Because let's just say that he's right, and that whatever Hyrox is doing on this database is some sort of moonlighting sort of thing, where it's like, oh my god, Hyrox has done it, they have all this data. And we're going to, for argument's sake, disregard the fact that they don't care about the wall ball depth. Because when you don't care about the standardization of movement, you cannot measure anything. The main thing that you've got here are 8 by 1,000 meter runs. Sure, you've got the sled push, and you've got the sled pull, and you've got the row and the ski, but it's like, is that really data like that? And how can you possibly think accruing more data on specific things can potentially throw a stone at the data that CrossFit has accumulated? The CrossFit Open has been a thing since what, 2010? 14 years of hundreds of thousands of people signing up year over year, and you know that you have something like a 50% attrition rate. So if you have 300,000 people sign up, you have an additional 150,000 people sign up. I looked this up before. How many people did High Rocks in 2023, 2024? Over 210,000 participants. That's not as many as CrossFit had in any of the past 5, 6, 7 years. And I believe I believe 2018 was the biggest year, like 400 or so thousand people signed up. So you're comparing High Rock, which is an in-person competition, which is great, to the CrossFit Open. And you can't say that the live competition is any better because we've all seen what the wall balls look like.
Leave these old ladies alone. Now, you'd have to be an idiot not to be able to understand that, and that's why probably you guys are coming to my show to get some solid data.
Liberty Mutual customized my car insurance, so I saved hundreds. But the money I saved, thought I'd get a wax figure myself.
Color meets stupid.
High Rocks will have more athletes go through it at a level that CrossFit will never be able to touch. Have more athletes go through it at a level that CrossFit will never be able to touch.
I just don't know what he's talking about. Is he forgetting about the CrossFit Open? There were upwards of 15,000 CrossFit affiliates. I would bet that 1 out of every 31 of those affiliates put on some sort of local competition over the course of the year, and there is data being put out from those local competitions as well. Sure, they're doing their own random crap, and maybe that's what you're trying to say, that in this one specific thing, it's like having a marathon race or a triathlon or something, that there is more data in that specific thing. But I just really don't understand what argument you're trying to make.
And the fact that people are actually completely going through and finishing it, and then we're getting really wrong information. I don't know if this is the right data, but
What?
I don't know if this is the right data.
What was that?
We're getting all the information and put in spreadsheets like this. It's so much more important, and there's so many more detailed levels of importance of testing fitness.
The definition of fitness was created by CrossFit, written in the stone tablet by Greg Glass. Perhaps that's the thing that you're going to hear and go, you're an idiot, that's not true. But I want to know what your definition of fitness is. Because if it's a High Rocks race and it's 1,000-meter runs with a whole bunch of random crap thrown into it, then it's no better than my definition of fitness. Because some random people who want to make a whole bunch of money on an event put that thing together. And it's okay that they want to make a whole bunch of money on an event. But they aren't claiming that this is a fitness test. It's just a run. It's just a race. It's like a marathon.
To say that a CrossFitter can come over and do High Rocks is awesome.
Agreed.
But to say that a High Rocks athlete is worse than a CrossFitter because they can't go do CrossFit, That's where the dummies start to step to the table, and that's where I get my tea out and I start sipping.
And I'm not saying worse, I'm saying not as fit as. Jeff Adler and Tia Toomey are far and above more fit than any single person that will ever be an exceptional Hyrox racer. The best Hyrox racer. You, Hunter McIntyre, have proved that. Because you didn't have to go through the Open, you didn't have to go through anything else, you just got the invite to the CrossFit Games and you got your butt kicked out because you couldn't handstand walk. In the broad spectrum of skills in the world that are to be learned, that is a very basic one. The handstand walk. They'll teach it to like 5th graders. 5-year-olds, 5th graders.
That's James Newberry. Can somebody send me a link to the race that they just did? Because I can't. James Newberry. Can somebody send me a link to the race that they just did? Because I can't figure it out.
Great database. You don't even know how to use it.
Team relay, Hyrox doubles, mixed. Is this not it?
I don't know. I also know that if I want to find any single data point in the history of the CrossFit Games database, I can figure it out like that. It's super freaking easy.
This is one of those kind of things where this 209 doesn't mean anything.
Good thing that they included it then, eh?
The 353 doesn't mean anything.
Oh, fantastic.
So they basically were running just under a 6-minute pace.
Is that good? Is that bad? What does that mean?
They had one decent one right here. Yeah, they're both substantial athletes. We both know that.
Fitter than anybody in the Hyrox space athletes. Not better athletes, just more fit. They're more fit.
But if you probably go to like the record, which is held by I think like Meg Jacoby or Lauren Weeks and stuff, it's a different story.
I'm going to give Hunter some grace here and I'm going to say, yeah, I know you were doing a live stream and I'm doing all of this on the back end and I'm editing it all up. And yes, I did go and I look at the record and I believe it was 48th place where the James Newberry Tia Toomey duo ended up finishing. I think the Lauren Jacoby duo that he mentioned was in 3rd overall. And I don't understand why the first place person had like something about half the time of the Jacoby chick, but the sheer fact that James Newberry and Tia Toomey can just swander the time of the 3rd overall. And I don't understand. Ended up finishing. I think the Lauren Jacoby duo that he mentioned was in 3rd overall. And I don't understand why the first place person had like something about half the time of the Jacoby chick, but the sheer fact that James Newberry and Tia Toomey can just wander on into a Hyrox event and have one of the top 50 times of all time over the 6-year span that it's been around definitely means something, doesn't it? I mean, it's not like there's a single Hyrox individual who's going to sign up for the CrossFit Open and finish in the top 50 in the world. They probably wouldn't even finish in the top 500 in the world. Oh, who's that chick? Short chick. Tell me your name!
It's time to maximize your potential by unleashing theirs. Get NASM certified today.
Open is not important.
Tell me your name!
Open is not important, so
We both know that they're fit. Tia Claire Toomey's won the CrossFit Games 5 times. 6 times? I don't know.
7 times.
Well, let's look at their Rock Zone data.
I heard him say that, and I go, what is this metric that Hyrox has created that is the Rock Zone data?
So highlighted in yellow is the running track. So this is where you do like your 8 1-kilometer runs, and then you go into the middle at the in section. And that's essentially where you enter the rock zone. Any distance that you cover between entering the in to the rock zone and when you go into the functional exercise station, that is all time that will contribute towards your rock zone. Time.
And it's this metric where between the entry and the exit of the running course that they do, there's like water stations and Red Bull, I guess.
Cups of water or Red Bull.
And the quicker you get through it, the less time that you waste. And I just don't understand why this was important.
Yeah, it's a long Rock Zone. But listen, you guys can't keep on bringing up the Rock Zone like it makes a difference. Like, the Rock Zone is supposedly supposed to be included in the 8.7K run. So it doesn't matter.
So you have all this data and you keep on telling me things that don't matter. It's the third thing that you've mentioned that doesn't matter. Good thing you have all the data and none of it matters.
Tia won the CrossFit Games 7 times?
Shocking. She's won the games more times than Hyrox has been around in years. Now watch Hunter try to navigate this website, this super awesome data-based website.
Where did I race? Anaheim, men's pro, show. Well, that's cool. What the fuck is this? Anaheim, men's pro, show results. There are currently no results. I didn't race, guys. Sorry. Okay, wait a second. This might work. Hold on. Let's try it again. Men's pro. Switch here. Nope, no results. All right. Well, whatevs. We'll get out of this section.
So he couldn't figure it out.
Wow.
So he's not doing a good job proving his point about all this data that Hyrox has, about the one event that they've got it on. I'm sure that Hunter knows about Beyond the Whiteboard, and maybe it slipped his mind as he was making this and telling everybody that Hyrox has way more data than CrossFit has ever put together. But on Beyond the Whiteboard, you can go to the Workout Murph and they have almost 200,000 results plugged in there, where they have this awesome chart where you can see what percentile you're in. Cindy has 209,000 entries. Helen the Workout has 240,000 entries. Annie, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10 of double unders and sit-ups has almost 250,000 entries. Fran, 21, 15, 9 thrusters and pull-ups has 261,000 entries, where you can see that if you can do that thing as a man under 218 and as a woman under 238, that you are in the 99. Ninth percentile. And the glorious thing about this is that there are so many people who will look at that and hear what I'm saying, go, Andrew, of those 260,000 people who did Fran, we don't know if they were locking out their elbows at the top of the thrusters, or if they were getting their chin over the bar on the pull-ups, or if they were squat below parallel on the squat of the thruster. And all I've got to say is that the thing that Hunter's going to come back at me with all of this data from this Hyrox website, we know what your wall balls look like.
I just got on Instagram for a minute today, and I couldn't help but notice that everybody is talking about this post of this woman who raced Hyrox Chicago in the 65 plus division, who is not getting deep enough on her wall balls. And then there's just hundreds of comments of people talking about this. I think it was posted by a few people, but I saw it on Hiller Fit. Either way, the point is, what are we doing? The whole point of going out and doing a race like this is to be celebrating fitness. Like, we're supposed to be encouraging people, and I just can't believe that people would be this low. Like, that's somebody's mom. It doesn't matter!
You have judges. They are out there. They are going to these events. And the Fran data on Beyond the Whiteboard is probably still better, with better movement standards than we've seen at the Hyrox events. And I just sputtered out a couple of things that are in the millions of total data points on CrossFit specific things, not 8 separate 1K runs. And this isn't even the CrossFit Games website, where you can look at hundreds of thousands of males and females in different age groups doing the open workouts, the quarterfinal workouts, the semifinal workouts, the regional workouts.
I don't think they're going to get $300,000 this year. This is basically a CrossFit athlete, and this is what used to be CrossFit. That's what that looks like. Oh, so they don't have 2025 prize money yet? Yeah, of course they don't, because you guys killed the sport.
We brought up this picture of this horse kicking this chick in the face. He's like, don't trust horses, and this is actually a pretty funny segment. To be fair, I don't believe that they had the 2024 numbers until, I don't know, a month or so before the games. I think that they had the sponsor locked up maybe 2 months before the games. I think that was Go Ruck, but it gets a little bit better.
This has nothing to do with sports, but
there's DIY, and there's doing it yourself.
this is basically CrossFitters right here. They're like, yeah, man, I can't wait to do CrossFit next year. This is CrossFit HQ, and then this is all the bums on the internet taking down CrossFit. There goes your career. Yep. Just saying.
I just imagine that goat making that sound he's making. It's funny because it's true. You want to make it worse for everybody? Tell people to stop doing it.
What's going on, baby? You thought you were going to be an elite fitness athlete? Let me just double team you into the ground.
Be prepared to get goat slapped. So I really like that final segment where Hunter's very obviously poking at the people who are coming after CrossFit. I'm not signing up for the open. I don't want it to go away. People are making this whole vote with your dollars thing in the sense where you're like, siphoning gas out of a car tank and it's just not going to work anymore. I've always likened it to the fact where I'm sitting over here with a tank of gas and I'm like, you can have it back. I want to give it to you really bad. I also understand that it's an empty gas can and you still have all of your gas. My threats mean nothing. All the while the gas was still in the car. It's like I was messing with them, poking, prodding, hoping for the best. And then this final part is the part where I think it's just incredibly ironic that Hunter's coming after vegans.
You're just a vegan who's probably hurt. Someone hurt you. Every single athlete that I've studied to the umpteenth end of the world, even in Kenya, those athletes are still eating goat meat. You guys just can't accept it because you're attached to an emotion rather than a correlation of an outcome. And that's why you're always going to lose this battle.
Can't get past the emotional component that is you are eating meat, but it is something that you need to eat. And the funny thing about that is, Hunter has this emotional mask when it comes to CrossFit and fitness. I don't know if there's a gray area here where I'm sitting over here saying, hey dude, Adler is the fittest man walking around on the planet. Tia Toomey, fittest chick in history. There is a reason that they can go over to High Rocks and that they can do rather well. And I know Tia went with Newberry, but if Tia went with Adler, they'd probably finish even better. They'd probably win that thing that they did this past weekend. Instead of finishing 48th out of the 50 top time doubles that ever, they'd probably be in the top 20. And if they train for it, I'm betting that they could probably win a High Rocks race. The High Rocks race. Set a record in the High Rocks. When I say that a High Rockser cannot go over to CrossFit and compete with the CrossFitters, it's not me throwing crap at High Rocksters. They are specialized, and they are not as fit as CrossFitters. They are generally smaller individuals. They don't have as much muscle mass. They don't have as many skills, and all of those things are okay. But when you make these arguments, Hunter, there are zero people looking at it that are not convinced that you wouldn't be making different claims had you had done better at the 2019 CrossFit Games. If by some grace of God you ended up winning that thing, you would be Mr. CrossFit. If you won in 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, you would be Mr. CrossFit. You'd be looking at High Rocks going, and that's why the vegan meat eating thing is ironic. Because you've got an emotional, not attachment, but detachment from CrossFit. And maybe an emotional attachment to the thing that you're better at in High Rocks. And that's all okay as well. And that's really all I had to say about any of that. And Riller, out.
2024 was iconic. Oh, hey, man, in finance. And it all started with a little tick. TikTok. You were the reason artists blew up and sparked whole movements. Because one little TikTok can spark a really big impact.
Therapy has always been such a scary idea to me because I simply did not know where to get started. I didn't know how to find my person.
To CrossFit and fitness. I don't know if there's a gray area here where I'm sitting over here saying, hey, incredibly ironic that Hunter's coming after vegans.
You're just a vegan who's probably hurt. Someone hurt you. Every single athlete that I've studied to the umpteenth end of the world, even in Kenya, those athletes are still eating goat meat. You guys just can't accept it because you're attached to an emotion rather than a correlation of an outcome. And that's why you're always going to lose this battle.
Can't get past the emotional component that is you are eating meat, but it is something that you need to eat. And the funny thing about that is, Hunter has this emotional mask when it comes to CrossFit and fitness. I don't know if there's a gray area here where I'm sitting over here saying, hey dude, Adler is the fittest man walking around on the planet. Tia Toomey, fittest chick in history. There is a reason that they can go over to High Rocks and that they can do rather well. And I know Tia went with Newberry, but if Tia went with Adler, they'd probably finish even better. They'd probably win that thing that they did this past weekend. Instead of finishing 48th out of the 50 top time doubles that ever, they'd probably be in the top 20. And if they train for it, I'm betting that they could probably win a High Rocks race. The High Rocks race. Set a record in the High Rocks. When I say that a High Rockser cannot go over to CrossFit and compete with the CrossFitters, it's not me throwing crap at Hyroxers. They are specialized, and they are not as fit as CrossFitters. They are generally smaller individuals. They don't have as much muscle mass. They don't have as many skills, and all of those things are okay. But when you make these arguments, Hunter, there are 0 people looking at it that are not convinced that you wouldn't be making different claims had you had done better at the 2019 CrossFit Games. If by some grace of God you ended up winning that thing, you would be Mr. CrossFit. If you won in 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, you would be Mr. CrossFit. You'd be looking at Hyrox going, and that's why the vegan meat eating thing is ironic. Because you've got an emotional, not attachment, but detachment from CrossFit. And maybe an emotional attachment to the thing that you're better at in Hyrox. And that's all okay as well. And that's really all I had to say about any of